Good morning, good evening, wherever you may be watching this video. Today is another episode of This Week in Flare. So we're going to get into everything that went on in the Flare ecosystem this week. We have a new price feed added to the FTSO. We have an FIP proposal. We have some FAssets news that's very exciting and several other things to get into. So with that being said, let's get into today's content. All right, so kicking things off with the FIP proposal. This is FIP.13 and STP.10. This essentially introduces custom feeds to the Flare time series Oracle. Now the FTSO can connect directly to smart contracts and provide data or price feeds for more non-traditional crypto assets that may not live on a centralized exchange or have a data feed coming from a centralized exchange. So let's dig a little into what this proposal includes. So just looking at the key changes proposed, don't necessarily want to go through the whole thing. If you want to, though, I'll probably just, include the link in the description of the video so you can go out and read the proposal in its entirety on your own time. But getting into the key changes, so we got different risk profile. So custom feeds present a different risk profile than standard FTSO feeds. Standard feeds are secured by the entire network of data providers, while custom feed security depends on the logic of its smart contract. Users and developers must therefore assess each custom feed individually to understand how its smart contract implementation affects their application security. Next, we have smart contracts modifications. The implementation of custom feeds requires several technical modifications to the FTSO smart contract system. These changes are designed to maintain backward compatibility while introducing new functionality. All modifications will be visible on the public Flare smart contracts GitHub. And then finally, we have the first custom feed on Flare. The first custom feed on Flare would be the Scepter Staked Flare, or S-Flare, which will be implemented through the S-Flare custom feed.sol contract. S-Flare was chosen as the first feed due to its central importance to the Flare ecosystem. S-Flare is a liquid staked version of Flare that can be used in Flare's DeFi ecosystem for lending, borrowing, and liquidity provision. The S-Flare custom feed will also serve as the reference point for developers looking to implement new custom feeds. So I definitely understand why they're starting with S-Flare as the first custom feed. Like they said, it's extremely central and important to the Flare ecosystem at this point. What I am more interested in is after S-Flare has become the custom feed and it's used as like the baseline of how custom feeds will be developed and implemented into the FTSO, what other custom feeds could we see developers request or potentially need for products built on the Flare network? So that is definitely an exciting thing to see occur and a good setup for the future of the FTSO and what other custom feeds that could be supported. Now, getting into what is the significance of custom feeds, because that's definitely something that we want to get across. Why is this important? Why is this good for the FTSO to support? Custom feeds will expand the FTSO's core functionality, which in turn enhances the overall capabilities across the Flare DeFi ecosystem. Custom feeds will bring more accurate collateral valuation for lending and borrowing. Extremely important. Reliable price data for liquidation mechanisms, which will benefit Flare's risk management systems. Again, I don't know how long you guys have been into the Flare, but crypto in general. If you've been in crypto long enough, you've heard of liquidations, you've heard of these mass liquidation events because oracles reported the wrong price or what have you, and people got wiped out because whatever application that they were using depended on that oracle price feed. Well, it's extremely important to have accurate prices to prevent situations like that. And then expanded on-chain data availability beyond traditional price feeds. So again, looking at more non-traditional assets within the crypto realm, which is kind of weird to say because crypto as an asset class in general is non-traditional, but you go deeper, there's even more non-traditional goodness within the crypto space. So you have other liquid stake tokens like staked ETH, staked AVAX, whatever the case may be, that could be included in the Flare time series Oracle for price feed availability. So this is, again, a setup move for expanded growth for the Flare ecosystem in general. Moving on. While we're in the same vein of FTSO price feeds, a new price feed is being added to the FTSO for Vera, the Vera chain. Now, personally, I don't know much about the Vera chain, but that's okay. The more price feed supported on the FTSO, the merrier. I'm pretty sure I'll get well acquainted pretty soon. Hopefully, products on the Flare network that are utilizing the Flare Time Series Oracle price feeds will be able to implement this and offer a product around it. I'm looking at you, XDefi, Spark Decks for your perpetual contracts as well. So definitely better the more price feeds are added to the FTSO, the more options you as a Flare holder or just a participant on the Flare network has available to them. So that's always a good thing. Next, we have the Flare Fair. We talked about this last week, but they have within the week, they've started a Flare Fair quest. So you can go out, you can perform certain tasks, get points, things of that nature. I believe it's like a $65,000 prize pool. So definitely check that out. If you missed the AMA that occurred earlier this week, be sure to go and listen to the recording. A lot of good information from all of the dApps and developers participating in the Flare Fair and have dedicated Flare fund zones. So again, be sure to check this out. A lot of good information. You want to stay up to date, especially if you plan on participating in the quest that's going on with that. Moving on to FAssets. So we got some interesting alpha from Hugo Fillion himself related to the launch of FAssets V1. So he was having a back and forth with another community member related to FAssets and some other stuff. Won't get into that because there's always some he said, she said stuff going on. But as always, Hugo has no problem clearing things up, especially when his name is brought into it. So I definitely respect that. He says, I said that FAssets V1, the protocol currently on Songbird, will launch on Flare shortly, likely early to mid-March. Minting caps will be increased incrementally. I also said that FAssets V2, which will allow a totally uncapped system, i.e. mint as much as you will launch in the summertime. So this is honestly the closest thing we've ever gotten to a date, and I'm cool with that. A lot of people, they like to full court press these developers and Hugo himself for dates, and that's just not the way to go about it. But hey, to each his own. So yeah, this is the closest that we've gotten to a actual launch date for FAssets, and now we know about FAssets V1 and V2. Like he said in his tweet, V1, you'll have the caps that you experienced in Songbird for very good reasons. I think the Flare team and Hugo himself have explained this good enough to where, hey, at this point, it is what it is. You either take it or you don't. But FAssets V2, will likely come in the summertime. And that's not too far off, which FAssets V2 will have an uncapped minting system, which means you can pretty much mint FAssets at will. So that's not a long time from now. I do think when, even though people want these dates, when they hear the date, their emotions cloud their judgment because summertime is quite literally around the corner. March is quite literally around the corner. We're in February right now. March is in a few weeks. Pump your brakes, calm down. You've waited this long for the FAssets to go live. Just take it with grace. You know what I'm saying? So definitely appreciate Hugo for, even though this came about kind of off, I definitely appreciate the response and thanks for the alpha. So looking forward to the launch of FAssets, of course. Now, moving on, we have another NFT collection coming up from Digital Dynamics. Now, this isn't necessarily the announcement tweet of their upcoming collection. Yoru, I believe is how you pronounce it. I hope I'm pronouncing it right. If I'm not, please correct me in the comments. Yeah, they're just showing off some of the cool art and potential traits you could look forward to later down the line. Let me give this disclaimer though. Anytime I talk about NFTs or a platform, or I do a tutorial for a platform, I'm not affiliated with that project. I'm not affiliated with those developers. I don't get paid to talk about any of the things that I've talked about or created a tutorial for. I'm talking about these items or these platforms on my channel because I am genuinely interested in them, or I'm actually using it myself. When it comes to NFTs, I like to buy NFTs because I enjoy the art. I'm not buying it for any future utility or anything like that. If it happens to come with utility, like legitimate utility, that's just icing on the cake. If you go back in time on my tweets, I have asked or I've spoken about, a hardware manufacturer like Token Frame Muse to support Flare NFTs, because how cool would it be to be able to display NFTs that you bought in your house? You know, your friends come over and you have these awesome NFT art dawning on your wall. You know, you would get a lot of questions like, where'd you get that? What is this? It would be really cool. And I would enjoy that myself. I haven't been able to do that because there's no support for Flare NFTs with these hardware manufacturers. So again, Token Frame, Muse, or anybody else out there that creates physical picture frames for NFTs, man, show the Flare Network some love. That's all I want. That's all I want. But yeah, your rule, be on the lookout for that mint date. I'm pretty sure it's coming up. I'm pretty sure there'll be an announcement for it soon as well. And honestly, if the art is looking like that, if I can land something like this and get my traits together, I just might have to change my profile picture, and we'll just have to see. We'll just have to see. But moving on. Speaking of NFTs, Tim Riley, he kind of went in on NFTs, and you know, when you read this, he has a point. He has a point. A lot of the NFTs on the Flare network are trash. And a lot of NFTs on the Flare network, they offer profit sharing or anything like that. And when you kind of sit back and you think about it, is that really worth separating yourself from your Flare, in order to buy these NFTs? Probably not, because your Flare by itself naturally, natively generates a yield. It natively brings some type of profit sharing back to you just by simply wrapping and delegating. So you got to kind of think about that when a lot of these NFTs are promising certain things, because I mean, if I'm being honest with you, the history of NFTs within the Flare ecosystem has not been the best. It's been very few that have actually panned out well. And even then, it's only a matter of time before they fall off. So, I mean, like I said, I buy it because I like the art. If I don't like the art, that's the first step. If I don't like the art, I'm probably not buying it. I could care less about whatever features could come with it. You know, there are a very few NFTs that I bought strictly for the utility. You know, if it's giving me access to staking rewards or something like that, you know, that's awesome. I'll probably get an NFT strictly for that. But other than that, I'm really cool on NFTs with utility, unless it's like legitimate utility. Other than that, everybody says that their NFT has utility and it almost never pans out. So be careful out there. But yeah, art first. If you get me with the art, everything else, cool, whatever. If it pans out, cool. If it doesn't, I'm good with that because I only bought it for the art anyway. Don't care what happens after that. That's just me though. Moving on. If you've been involved with the Flare network for any given amount of time, I'm pretty sure you know that part of their focus for the future growth of Flare is verifiable AI. Well, they're hosting a hackathon with Google and blockchain at Berkeley, or Cal blockchain here. They have a 100K prize pool, 60K in person, 40K virtual. They have different tracks going on here. Yeah, we visit the hackathon page here. Again, 100,000 prize pool. Let's look at some of the tracks for the hackathon. They have AI and DeFi. Def AI, I think is, I don't know how you pronounce that. Somebody tell me how to pronounce this, because I've struggled with this ever since I first started seeing this term pop up. But basically, creating an autonomous AI agent that can interact with Flare's DeFi ecosystem. And then they have RAG knowledge. So RAG stands for Retrieval Augmented Generation, or RAG. Build a specialized retrieval augmented generation system for Flare ecosystem content. Social AI agent. Create an autonomous AI agent that can meaningfully interact with Flare's social media presence. And then, of course, consensus learning. Build a system that achieves consensus learning across multiple AI models. This is pretty big. 4 tracks here, but obviously each with a different prize, whether you're on site or virtual. But I think this AI hackathon is the precursor for, you know, really seriously seeing use cases involving AI come to life on the Flare network. So if you're a developer, if you're interested in getting involved with artificial intelligence, blockchain being at the nexus of the two, I would definitely check out this hackathon. Now, again, you don't have to be physically present. You may not be getting as much of a prize pool, but there's virtual options or virtual seats as well. So be sure to check out the hackathon that is going on for the Flare network and Google. And then we have Max, who is part of the Flare core team. His tweet says, enshrine TEEs, which stand for Trusted Execution Environments, will enable Flare to offer a new range of consumer-grade applications while preserving the decentralized features of the chain. The slick UI/UX and feature-rich apps we see in the App Store will finally be integrated with blockchain as dApps. Vibes? Yes, I'm definitely messing with the vibes, Max. I'm feeling the vibes. So yeah, I mean, I probably will do a video on what TEEs are. I don't know if the Flare community in general is, educated on the topic. So I'll definitely try and put a good comprehensive video together on how this is a game changer for Flare, how they're used in other applications, and try and get an idea on how they can be deployed and leveraged on the Flare network as well. But with that being said, that's really it for the video. I hope you enjoyed today's content. Give me a like, share, subscribe, comment below what you think about today's content. What do you think about AI and Flare? What do you think about the many different FIP proposals we've been getting seemingly week after week? To me, that just signifies that growth within the Flare ecosystem is, increasing exponentially. Things are happening pretty fast at this point. It felt like things were happening slow, but now it's like every week something new. So that's always a good thing, especially when you're actively participating in the network. You like things like this. But yeah, let me know what you think in the comments below, and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.